I'm in the middle of analyzing the latest trends in Mexico's natural gas consumption when all of a sudden, a chill runs down my body. My face and hands start tingling. My heart starts beating faster, and I'm finding it hard to breathe. I'm embarrassed to say something to my coworkers, but I'm freaking out on the inside because I don't know what is going on. So in a panic, I slowly get up from my desk and calmly walk out of the office. Once I'm in the hallway, I start walking faster towards the women's bathroom. I grasp my hands on the bathroom sink and slowly look up at my reflection. My face is pale. My eyes are scared. My breathing is shorter and faster now, and afraid that someone might see me, I lock myself in a bathroom stall, put my back against the wall, bring my hands close to my chest, and begin to pray. I tell myself, "You're okay. Estás bien. Estás bien. Estás bien." And a few minutes later, I'm able to control my breathing. I walk out of the bathroom stall into the bathroom sink, wash my face, pinch my cheeks, and walk back to my desk to continue my work. Mi nombre es Michelle Avalos, and in 2018, I made the bold decision to transition from my corporate job and pursue full-time work in the community. Now, in order for you to really understand the weight of that statement, I need to give you a little bit of history. I was born in Michoacán, Mexico, and shortly after my birth, my mother made the bold decision to start the dangerous journey to los Estados Unidos. In most immigrant stories, it's common for men to be the first ones to venture to the United States, often leaving behind families and even small children. But it's almost unheard of for a woman to go first. My mother was bold. She entrusted her family to care for her firstborn daughter without realizing that 2 years would pass before we would be reunited. I was just a toddler, but my first memory is actually of someone coming to pick me up from El Rancho to bring me to Houston, Texas. That is how deeply rooted my immigrant story is. And when I was growing up in Southeast Houston, my classmates, their parents, our neighbors, all had very similar stories to those of my family. Like most, my parents had various jobs to pay the bills and put food on the table. And as the firstborn in a Latina household, I grew up cooking and cleaning and taking care of my younger sisters while my parents were at work. I also had the pleasure of being the family translator, the family lawyer, the accountant, and everything in between, all before I even made it to high school. I can laugh about that now, but the truth is, things were rough. We had our fair share of deep struggles. But through them all, my parents were constantly reminding me of the importance of receiving an education. Honestly, though, they didn't have to try that hard because I loved school. I really did. I remember crying frantically one day in middle school because I missed my school bus. And out of despair, I awkwardly knocked on a neighbor's door to ask if he could give me a ride. When I was in school, I could be someone else. I could be smart. I could be strong. I could ask questions. I could dare to dream. And when my home life made me doubt my value, I had an army of teachers ready to remind me that I was worthy. Take a quick second and repeat after me. I am worthy. Soy digna. Yes, you are, and don't you forget it. I had to constantly remind myself of that as I was growing up, and with all that, I just continued to focus on my education, and soon I became the first person in my family to attend and graduate college. I started my journey at U of H downtown, before transferring to the University of Houston's main campus, where I received a full academic scholarship to study at the Bauer College of Business. Fun fact, I was also accepted into the School of Dance. See, my plan was to major in accounting, where I would ensure that I would have a stable and well-paying job, but I also wanted to minor in dance, which was my passion. I was the girl sitting in frameworks accounting, wearing leotard and tights, because I would have to run, or should I say gracefully leap across campus right after class so that I can make my ballet class. Eventually, reality sunk in, though, and I realized, first of all, I couldn't afford 2 career paths with my scholarship and the tips I was making as a waitress, so there was that. But then, I also reached a conclusion that I hope many will not have to reach in their lives. I decided that it wasn't right for me to be wasting time pursuing my passions when my family was in need of something more. And so I traded the leotard for a suit, and the closest thing that I got to rebellion was switching my major from accounting to supply chain. I am so happy that I had this opportunity to be on this stage with you today, because many will never be here. And I had to constantly remind myself of that as I was going through all the things that I went through, and as I was trying to get there to be that person that actually accomplished everything that my parents wanted me to accomplish. You see, this is a very common story amongst first-generation college students. When you become the first person in your family to make it this far, your journey is no longer only yours. Every decision that you make now represents your family and the sacrifices and struggles that they made so that you could get to this point. When we become the first, there are so many things that we don't realize that we signed up for. And some of those examples include, I'll start with the common one. You have to get good grades, pretty standard across the board. Like, don't you dare tell your mom you got a C in statistics. She doesn't know what that is. Pero córrele porque ahí viene la chancla. Another ejemplo, you must select a stable and well-paying career. But mom, I wanted to be a famous dancer. Córrele porque ahí viene la chancla. And I think most importantly, you must succeed. Success is not an option for first-generation college students. It is a requirement. It is a must. The eyes of all those that came before you are right here on your shoulders as you're going through all those steps and all those struggles on your own. I had the pleasure of having 2 younger sisters watching my every step. And so you can imagine how much weight there was on my shoulders and every decision that I made, whether or not I went to that party, whether or not I continued to pursue my passions. I felt like I had to take certain steps, whether or not it's what I actually wanted to do. And so soon the first to graduate from college also became a different kind of first. I became the first woman and the first Latina to be hired by one of the top liquefied natural gas consulting firms in the country. And those first couple of years of my career, it was beautiful. Having the privilege to tell my mom, Ama, we made it. I made it. And that felt so darn good. And I remember being able to now have funds to help my mom pay for the various bills. I was able to help cover expenses for my sisters as they were going through college. And when I moved into my first apartment where I no longer needed a roommate, We brought my mom and my sisters to do a tour, and we're walking through it, sitting in the kitchen table, still bare. I didn't have furniture there yet. And one of my sisters looks over to me, and she says, "Wow, no one from our family has ever made it this far." And that was so impactful that when they left, I had to record myself in that moment so that I could remember how beautiful that was, and I wouldn't take it for granted. From a professional standpoint, career-wise, I was there. I made it. I would often be the only woman sitting in boardrooms and sitting with CEOs and top-level executives from all across the world. I have one specific memory of sitting in a boardroom with 20 other executives. I was the only woman, youngest by far. Mixture of executives and ministry, leaders in the ministry from a country in Africa. And I sat there thinking, what am I doing here? And often, I don't know if some of you can relate, but often I was scared that they were going to find out I didn't know what I was doing. Because that's really what it was. Every day, I was trying to figure it out. And especially in an industry that in itself was not very well known. It was a very niche industry. And I already mentioned there weren't many women in the industry overall, and certainly not almost zero Latinas at the time. I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have anyone I can look to. I was kind of on my own. And so part of that lifestyle is that I started developing this second life that I would live the moment that I would step out of that office. I volunteered in so many nonprofit organizations. I spent so much time on campus that my mom was super confused because she thought I already graduated. She didn't know. I would tell her, no, Ma, it's because, the alumni, you're supposed to come back and you give back and you help and you volunteer. And she's like, are they paying you? Like, what is this? I'm like, no, Ma, no. That's not even a concept. You're done with school. Like, bye. Go work, make your money, move on. And so there was a struggle there in getting my family to also understand that. But even for myself, it was a necessity. There was a world that I entered that I was not prepared for, and that I had nobody to mentor me and guide me through the process. The culture within a male-dominated industry was a little bit more than I could bear. But I wasn't going to quit. I was the first woman. I was the first Latina. I was the first person in my family to graduate from college, all the first. And so I kept on and kept on until the day when I was in the middle of analyzing Mexico's latest trends in natural gas consumption, and a chill ran down my body. That incident happened more than once. And instead of saying something to someone, I internalized it because I didn't want to cause a scene. I probably should have gone to the doctor, but I didn't. And in my mind, I just needed to figure it out what was going on. I needed to control myself. The reality was that my career was doing this, my volunteer nonprofit work was also doing this, and my body was doing this. I was bringing myself to that level of strain, and I finally, because I wasn't listening, my body started externalizing that, and I had a series of panic attacks that would occur at random moments, and a series of just these things that would happen to my body that would have to force me to leave my desk calmly and hide in a conference room until it all went away. And so after a couple of years of me wanting to transition, I felt like I couldn't. I still had that chip on my shoulder that said, but Michelle, if you leave this title, who are you? And what about all that work and all those sacrifices? My validation was coming from being able to go up to someone and talk about all the things they had no idea what I was talking about, and I felt so good because I was so smart. And letting go of that left me in this place of confusion. How was I going to prove my value if I wasn't working in this fancy office wearing this nice business dress? Well, last year, I finally decided it was time. on my 29th birthday, I went and I talked to my boss and I let her know that I was going to be leaving. Of course, they thought I was leaving to a competitor, which wasn't the case. And when I explained to people that I was actually leaving because I wanted to go and pursue the work that I have actually also been doing in tandem with my career, they were very confused. They didn't understand it, but it was something that it was inside of me, and I needed to go and do that. I didn't want to wait until I would get home at 8 p.m. to start the work that I wanted to start from the moment that I woke up. And last year, I made that choice. And so that journey has not been easy. I'm not here to tell you, and now I'm this big success. I'm still figuring it out. But every day I'm seeing opportunities open left and right. I'm seeing doors open so that I can walk down a hall and be on a stage and share my story. So yes, I was the first, but I'm not the last. I'm not the only one. And I want to challenge all the future first in whatever that may be. Be the first and do it with pride. Thank you.